Hey guys, it is the 27th of November, and that means we are on our 27th Art Soundoff. And earlier today, I was asked, is it more beneficial to practice skills in advance, or should you only practice skills when you need them? So I thought that was a really interesting topic. Every day I do warm-up drawings. I usually do anatomy drawings. I often draw from life, and I have done figure drawing consistently for the past 7 years, even seeking out opportunities when I lived in New Orleans to participate in like drink and draw and that sort of stuff that would have a live model. And all of that was honing skills in preparation for the comics and the illustrations that I would be doing. So I feel like there are certain skill sets that you should be practicing regardless of when you're going to use them. And those skill sets are constructive human anatomy, understanding how the human figure is built, how it is posed, how you can pose it, and that requires drawing from life and drawing from reference to build up this knowledge base, not just drawing from your imagination. And practicing your anatomy and your constructive skills. Both of those are things that if you don't practice them in advance, if you're not familiar with them in advance, if you don't use them enough, it's going to take you 4 times as long to do what you're trying to do because you're trying to relearn those skills while you're also trying to capture your idea down. When I was taking my first, what are they called? My first semester at SCAD, we had these classes that were designed to bring you up to the level they wanted you to be at. And pretty much everyone was in Tom Lyle's advanced, dang it. Sorry, I haven't had my coffee today. Anyway, it was like just like an advanced drawing technique sort of class to bring everybody up to the same level. And I had used perspective in the past, but I had never done comic pages with 2-point perspective. I know that sounds really pathetic, but before then I was doing a comic design for the web that was staged like you would stage a sitcom. So it used a lot of 1-point perspective because it was very easy to crank out really quickly. And we were going over 2-point and 3-point perspective, and I just didn't have, I hadn't done enough of drawing interiors to be able to do that easily. So I remember my first illustration literally took me 2 weeks to do it, to do one illustration. I could do that in a day, no problem now. Knock that out really quick. But it took me 2 weeks, and I had to basically overdraw it. So I had to draw a massive cube and then set my room in there because my brain hadn't quite grasped how to flip the cube so that you're drawing the inside of it. So I really think that skills like backgrounds and constructive human anatomy are skills that you should always be practicing. You should always work on those regardless of when you plan on using them because they're the sort of things that are evergreen. You're always going to need to be able to draw people and buildings or people and environments. For me, as a painter, I am always practicing, always doing color studies, always doing watercolor studies, always reading about watercolor, always trying to learn new techniques because I don't want, if I'm painting a page, I don't want to try something I've never tried before and have it fail and ruin the page. So that's another thing that I try to work on it year round, especially during dead times or times when I can't actually work on comic pages. I try to work on honing those skill sets so that I have them when I need them. I'm really not a fan of learning how to do stuff as you need it. I feel like that is a pathetic way to go about pursuing a career. That's just how I feel. I also don't lie on my resume. What is listed on my resume are all skills that I know I have that I feel very certain about. I am not really a big one for, well, I'll just learn how to do it when the time comes. There are certain skills that I have not developed. Like I used to know how to use Illustrator. I used to ink in Illustrator. I don't anymore. I would need like a 2-week warm-up period to get used to that. I used to be very familiar and proficient with InDesign, and I've gotten very lazy about laying out my books like that. I just use a template that was made like 2 years ago to just drop pages in. So those are skills I don't list on my resume because I don't keep them up. So it would take me a while to relearn them, and I don't want somebody paying me for skills that I don't actually have. I think I have a moral problem with people lying about that kind of stuff, and I know it's really common to do that, but I'm usually the person who cleans up for that person, so I don't appreciate other people doing that. But like, for example, I'm working on my Kidlit portfolio right now. I showed you guys some of the stuff from that yesterday, and a lot of what I'm doing is digital. I'm working on refreshing my ability to work in Photoshop, my ability to mimic other styles of rendering in Photoshop, and learning how to use Manga Studio on my own time, on my own dime, while I'm preparing my my portfolio. And I think a lot of this is just like personal preference. Like I've told you guys many times before, I'm not naturally an artist. I'm not naturally inclined towards that. This is something that I actively pursue. I don't have this innate ability. I've had to teach myself how to see things and teach myself how to break things down and teach myself how to see things like an artist would. So these are skills that don't come easily to me. I take longer than other people to do them. And my fine motor skills were never great. I wasn't allowed to play video games as a kid, so I don't have those like cat-like reflexes. And I was terrible at ballet. So these are all things I've had to develop. So it takes me longer to learn how to do these things than it would take someone else. So I do have very strong feelings about you need to practice and you need to do it consistently and you need to make it a point that you're doing it every day. It needs to be that important to you that you're finding time every day to do these things. Because if you are in high school, if you're in middle school, if you're in undergrad, and you have free time and you're not making time to draw every day, then you are probably not serious enough to pursue it as a career. And I hope I hope that makes you angry. I hope you're going to show me differently, because that's what had to happen to me. I had to come to that conclusion and then get angry at myself because I wasn't living up to that, and then get serious. So I hope it makes you angry. I hope you're mad at me, and I hope you're going to show me different. Or I hope you're inspired and you're going to show me that you got what it takes, because I believe in you. That's why I'm honest about these things. But I do think that, okay, for example, drawing animals and drawing people based on very similar things. But most animals are quadrupedal and they're built along similar lines. So if you just practice drawing, your very basic animal shapes, reptiles, snakes, frogs, because they're all built kind of differently from each other. Birds are built differently, mammals, etc. Then you should be able to change what you need to change, modify the anatomy enough with reference to be able to draw whatever animals you need to draw, just as long as you're, consistently drawing animals and working on animals and thinking about how animals would look in your style of drawing. So I hope that answered your question. I hope you guys have a great day. I will see you tomorrow with my 28th Art Sound Off. Bye guys!